everybody. Nate from Performance Partout. I'm going to go over the data logs from this last weekend's race. There was an IFO event in West Salem, Ohio at Dragway 42. We were in the Forced Induction Sport class with our 1G all-wheel drive. That's what these logs are from. Been chasing down an EGT problem for the last couple weeks, basically since we put the car together with the Haul Tech this year. And I changed the lifters this week, and of all the things, freaking lifters. The last couple runs, the more I've been running higher RPM and more boost, I've been trying everything from individual cylinder corrections, changing spark plugs, changing coils, 3 sets of injectors, boost up, boost down, timing up, timing down, pull the plugs all over the place. It was the freaking lifters the whole time. So the prior problem was the EGTs were peaking in the middle of second gear, and then I'd have like cylinder number 2 and cylinder number 4 just like dropping off like a brick and going down here into like the under 1200 degrees by the traps. And the car didn't feel like it was making mile an hour. It was prior it had gone 9.5. It had done as well as 6.0 at 113 to the 8th, and then like only 137 to 138 miles an hour up top. It did like a best of 139. So this log, what we're looking at right now, is the first qualifying pass at the lowest boost level that realistically this combination will hold, like 31, 32 pounds of boost. I think the target was set for 32. And we have a nice clean EGT trace, other than this shaky number 1 that's hotter than the rest. So that's something to be addressed later. But this pass was a 10.18 at 135. I think we were actually like the number 1 qualifier for the first round. And then in qualifier 2, which is this pass, I turned the boost up a little bit, left the launch controls the same. This was a 9.98 at 137 pass, targeting 38 pounds of boost, I believe. And the EGT's clean. Cylinder number 1 is still hot. So I'll take hot compared to it dropping off like a brick like it was before. So even on the first run, at only 32 pounds of boost, I pulled a little timing out and I kind of just like reset the tune from the last few passes. And it trapped 135 like this. So, you know, before it felt like I had to wring its neck to get it over 135. And this, it ran nice and clean. So let's take a look at the log and see what's going on. So we're kind of done with the EGT. I have all 3 runs on this log at the bottom. So we can kind of shoot between qualifier 1, qualifier 2, and the elimination rounds. So on the launch end, the first run I had it set on knob position 3, knob position 2, which was a 4,300 RPM rev limiter, and it should have left it around 20 pounds of boost. So we hit this. This is an exact. This launch setting I've used before. It normally nets like a 150. With the boost turned down, it was actually a smidge slower than that. It actually was like a 153, 154, 60 foot. But, you know, this was intended as a go out and qualify and don't break the car. Make sure you get in the field. So for qualifying 1, a mid 1.5, a low pressure, low boost level pass. I improved a little bit in the spool up down here. I'm going to bump this one up just a little, make this just a smidge more aggressive for 32 pounds of boost. And this is going to be our like basic go out for qualifier number 1 and run a low 10. For the launch on the second run, here's where things get weird. And we'll get to the end of the story soon of what happened with the day. Needless to say, I did not win the race. Scott, I believe his last name is Frazo, something like that. He's got a white Evo 3. He ended up winning this event. Was not me this time. Qualifier number 2 was a 9.98. That bumped me down to the number 2 spot. Dave Brzezinski took over the number 1 with a 9.90 in the second round of qualifying. This was with the launch RPM should have been at 4,500 RPM, and it should have been about 25 pounds of boost. And when I dropped the brake at This green line is the launch control input state, which is basically the brake pedal switch. I was only at 4,100 RPM, was not up to the rev limiter yet, and I was only making 17 pounds of boost. But I didn't notice it because it wasn't a bad 60 foot. This one was a 152. I'm looking at the time slips here. So this is a 152. It ran 998, so it put up a 9. That's fine. Boost control looked pretty good. It was a solid, clean run. The EGTs on this run were, excuse me, actually smoother, still hot. So after this run, I made a few changes I added some fuel, I think 3% to cylinder number 1 to see if that cooled off the EGT, now that we're actually getting like EGTs that you can work with. But fast forward to the next elimination round, which I lost. I won round 1 with effectively a bye. I was running against a Honda that staged next to me, and as soon as I put the throttle down to get up on the converter before bumping in, the Honda just decided to leave, and it launched without even staging. So he DQ'd himself. So I didn't even get to see that I was out of nitrous for round 1. I go up to the line for round 2, and as you can see here, this is launch control state goes up, nitrous comes on. That's this blue line. The nitrous is on, and the RPM just doesn't come up. I let off the brake after sitting on it for like 7 seconds, 8 seconds. It only got to like 3,300 RPM and 6 pounds of boost. Basically, nitrous bottle's empty. So get this thing filled next time, dumbass. Oh. So yeah, that nitrous bottle only weighs 22 pounds and a few ounces, and it's 18 pounds when it's completely empty. So it's a 15-pound nitrous bottle. It has 4 pounds of nitrous in it, which I'm going to guess is not enough to do its job. So next order of business is buy a second nitrous bottle, get them both filled, and go to a race. Don't drive 400 miles away to a race with only one nitrous bottle that's 75% empty. So we really can't do anything with the launch controls with the nitrous not working. So there's nothing to really adjust here for going out to the track next time. So this tab is for fuel. Now that the engine runs right, changing the lifters, my theory here is that we have that Kigley hydraulic lash adjuster pressure regulator on it, that little billet plate. That's supposed to lower the pressure input to the lifter gallery, as far as I understand. And I had big bore revised lifters in it with the large holes. I'm thinking that these were just not getting enough pressure, whether it's a fault of the lifters or a combination of the big bore lifters with that Kigley regulator. But I think the lifters were not fully taking up all the slack, and we were just like effectively reduced lift on the cam in the valve train. So I think the motor was, like the last 5 times at the track, just plugged for airflow. Like the valves weren't opening far enough. And so bad on cylinder number 2 that cylinder number 2 was like choking on airflow. And it probably explains why I kept raising the boost, and like not seeing any more like the mile an hour just was not going up with increased boost. So on the last run, at the last time at the track, excuse me, when it ran the 9.5, the short-term fuel trim was not adding any fuel, and the target lambda was like on, or the wideband was hitting the target lambda spot on. Now, on the first run at 32 pounds of boost, you can see the short-term fuel trim is the more we're revving the motor, the more the short-term fuel trim is adding in fuel. At the top, we were adding in 3, 4, looks like hovering around 3% added fuel through the closed loop fuel trim, and we are still at 11.8 when the target was 11.6. So we picked up some airflow from fixing these lifters. On the second run at 37 pounds of boost, 38 pounds of boost, you can see this yellow line trending up. The more we rev the engine, the more the short-term fuel trim is just adding more and more fuel. It's adding 4% plus up top, and we're quite a bit leaner, 11.9 versus 11.6. So we actually have to go in and richen up our VE map now and just add some fuel. Now the motor is using all of the boost that's coming at it versus the way it was before. As far as boost control, we're still tapering off. Let's go back to the first run. Qualifier number 1, targeting 32 pounds. We hit the target down around 7,000 RPM. 8,000 and 9,000 need more duty cycle. So we're going to go in and adjust those at the 34 target row. And on the second run, I had the boost controllers on the knob number 1 on the dash. I was targeting 38 pounds of boost, and it hits it 7,500 RPM. Everything under 7,500 RPM can come down a couple clicks. Everything over 7,500 RPM needs to go up. This seems to be a trend with this small turbo that it just needs a lot of duty cycle at 9,000 RPM to try to keep the boost from dropping. What else? Oh, I fixed the exhaust manifold pressure sensor. Oddly enough, more user error. Just the number 4 AN line that goes to it was, on the last couple runs the prior day at the track, it was just reading low, and I was kind of suspecting maybe the sensor had failed, but ends up just the AN line was loose, and it was just venting pressure. So, easy fix, tighten up the fitting. As far as on the first run, looks like we had exhaust pressures in yellow. We were peaking right around 60 PSI of exhaust pressure to make 33 pounds of boost. 33 pounds of boost. On the second run, targeting 38 pounds of boost, we had exhaust pressures as high as 76 in first gear. Second gear, we peaked at 74 to make 37. So we're still not 60, 74. We're getting there. We're almost at that 2-to-1 ratio. So at least now we're collecting exhaust manifold pressure data again, where, you know, how I am with not collecting data. The last day at the track, not having that exhaust manifold pressure was kind of weirding me out. So back to the tune file. We targeted 11.6 and weren't even close. So I want to change in the VE map. Let's go to the first run, fuel. We were lean at least 1% at 7,000 RPM, and we were as lean as 4.5%, almost 5% at 85. And this is, let me add manifold pressure to this. This is at 38 pounds down to 36 pounds. So I'm going to make some kind of rough adjustments here. So we're in these two columns, and RPM is dropping to as low as 66, 64. So we're going to go from 6,500 RPM up on those two load rows. Come on, Nathan. And I'm just going to add, no, not 3. Undo. Percentage, 3%. That bumps that up a little bit. I'm going to take this all the way out, because if we were lean at 38 pounds of boost, we're going to be lean up top as well. So I'm going to add 3% fuel to the base map, or to the base VE map. There's nothing I can do with the launch. I had already, for the EGT, taken out, I had added 3% fuel to cylinder number 1 from 7,000 RPM up at 38 pounds of boost and above, anticipating this making a full pass on the elimination rounds and didn't actually get to make a pass at all because the nitrous bottle was empty. It wouldn't launch, so I just kind of backed out of it once I had lost that round. So we're going to leave that alone, see if on the next pass, which isn't going to be till July, after I get back from vacation, if the additional fuel on cylinder 1 cools the CGT down or not. I may actually try to get to the dyno and do a little tuning on the ignition timing and cam gears before going to the track again. So we're not going to change anything with launch. We've made a sloppy fuel adjustment. We can fine tune that on the dyno or at the track next time. For boost control, the 34 target, we're way off at 8,000 and 9,000. So we want to go turn up the duty cycle, boost control, base duty cycle for, that was 34 target. So targeting 34, these two cells need to come up a significant amount. So I'm going to say, let's put 36. Let's go with the 8,000A, slightly less. Let's go to 33. See how this takes. And then the next one we can adjust is the 38 from run 2. 8,000 RPM, we're off by only a little bit at 40%. So let's go up to, not 51, let's go to 41. And at 9,000 RPM, we got as high as 45% duty cycle and still weren't at the target. So let's go to 48. I'm gonna make a little bit more aggressive of jumps here because run after run after run, I keep increasing the duty cycle at 8,000 and 9,000, and it's still dropping boost up top. So I don't think this can be overdone. So the 36% or the 36 PSI load row, I'm gonna kind of interpolate between these two. So actually, I think there's a command for that. We can select the 3 rows, or select the cells in the column. We can go edit, linearize. And then we'll do the same thing for here. And I guess there's a shortcut for an L. You can hit L and it will just knock it out for you. So this should help some of the boost fall off with RPM. Boost control on the starting line or on the launch. You can see the target. The blue is actual manifold pressure, and this is the target. It follows it fairly well till we get to right about here. Why did this kind of hover? We've got this dip. The nitrous flow wasn't solid here, and these have been tuned with the nitrous flowing, so like this run, you can see it got on the converter and was on the rev limiter, and the boost follows the target fairly well, other than this drop, which that drop in target, we want the boost control duty cycle to ramp up here. So this point is 5,500 RPM at what's the target on this is knob position for 34. So I want to go back into boost control, the target pressure. We were on knob position number 6, and we want to adjust the 5,500 RPM up to, I'm going to put this one up to 30 as well. Just take out that drop. So this will smoothly spool up. You can see the RPM kind of lays there and has a knee to the curve in this range. I want to try and eliminate. So that's really all I'm gonna all the change I'm gonna make to the tune for this week. But you know, it's fun to look at the logs, compare them to the time slips, and try to figure out what's going on. But basically, this car is not raceable without nitrous. So make sure the bottle's full. Take it easy, guys.